Filmation'S Ghostbusters. Say it, and the vast majority of people who know what it is, they already have their minds made up about it. They aren't the original Ghostbusters. No, that's not true at all. They're just cheap knockoffs. Nope, once again, wrong. Pfft, why are you even doing this video? Nobody likes them, nobody remembers them. Believe it or not, no, that's actually incorrect because I'm one of the people out there that actually likes Filmation'S Ghostbusters. Now, I gotta admit, the television show, not really my cup of tea. It's kinda hard to watch. But their action figure line from the 1980s, while often forgotten about, is probably one of the greatest figure lines from that era. What the hell was that? Okay, whoever's doing our graphics, guys in the GB News graphics department, you deserve a raise, because that was awesome. So yes, today we're talking about the Filmation'S Ghostbusters toy line from the 1980s, but before we get to the toy line, we gotta talk about the origin of Filmation'S Ghostbusters. You see, way back in the mid-70s, there was a TV show called The Ghostbusters. It was a slapstick comedy, kind of like the Monkees TV show at the time. However, instead of monkeys, this one starred a gorilla. A bad joke. If you've watched any slapstick comedies from this era, you know exactly what to expect. But one thing I didn't expect was this theme song, which goes in my head on the daily. We're the Ghostbusters. The show didn't last long, and the name Ghostbusters was dead. That's, of course, until 1984, when Columbia released Ghostbusters. Now, one thing you may not know about this was that that film may have not have been called Ghostbusters because, well, Filmation's still in the rights to the name. Had that deal never gone through, the Ghostbusters film from '84 may have been known as, like, Ghost Smashers. So the deal was made, Columbia's film was a huge hit, and of course, Columbia then enlisted DiC to start production on the real Ghostbusters cartoon show. Not to be outdone, and to also capitalize on the popularity of the Ghostbusters name brand, Filmation's, well, they did their own cartoon show, what is now known as Filmation'S Ghostbusters. So yes, in the 1980s, kids had two Ghostbuster shows they could watch. Either DiC's The Real Ghostbusters or Filmation'S Ghostbusters. But technically, Filmation'S Ghostbusters was more of real than what Columbia's Ghostbusters was. You follow me? So when kids turned into DiC's offering, what did they find? Well, they found a TV show that was very much like the 1984 film, albeit Egon now having blonde hair. And for kids tuning into Filmation's offering, well, it was quite a bit different. We had two lead male characters whose outfits made them look very dated, and a talking gorilla named Tracy who was the smartest of the entire pack. The show certainly had its charm, but there was no way it could compete against the Columbia DiC juggernaut that was the real Ghostbusters. But that didn't stop them from doing a lot of things that other 80s television shows had, like their face-on lunchboxes, Halloween costumes, and of course, action figures. And let me say, this action figure line released from Shopper is absolutely downright amazing. And not only amazing, this action figure line, well, it's so much fun, it's spooky.
Ghostbusters, let's go! Ghostbuster toys, so much fun, it's spooky. Play Ghostbusters.
Let's go!
With your own play figures.
Come on there, Ghost to bust.
Jake has a magic backpack and ghost gun. Primeval has a real cape.
Look out, humans.
Pull yourself together, you rusty wreck.
That's spooky.
Ghostbuster figures from Shopper. So much fun, it's spooky.
So much fun, it's spooky is the tagline. I don't know if something can be so much fun it's spooky. That doesn't make any sense. Now, much like the television show, the figure line didn't really last too long. There was only one series, but we pretty much got everybody in the TV show. You had the lead characters like Tracy, Jake Kong Jr., and Eddie Spencer Jr. Let's also not forget Jessica and Futura. Smaller characters like Belfry and Batter-Rat also showed up. The incarnation of evil himself, Primeval, along with Scared Stiff, Haunter, Mysteria, Fangster, and Fibface. And as we look at each one of these toys, just notice the level of detail. Once again, one of the best toy lines from the 80s, in my humble opinion. Even the size proportioning when you compare characters like Jake Kong Jr. and Eddie Spencer Jr. up against Tracy the Gorilla. I also really enjoy how the television show's bad guy, Primeval, stands head above everyone else in the set. You look at the colors, the faces on these characters. It looks like they were just grabbed directly out of the Filmation cartoon and put right in front of you in plastic form. Now, I should also note that the main lead three Ghostbusters, as well as also Fangster, they have these holes in their back where you can actually put backpacks. While the backpacks look pretty cool, this is one of the only negatives from the set, is that they were attached by these little small kind of square pegs that easily broke off. Sadly, when I picked these guys up just recently by eBay, none of them came with packs. As well, Eddie, Jake, and Tracy also have their Ghostbuster guns that are shown in the Filmation's cartoon show. These are a bit easier to track down via third-party sellers, especially if you buy them in the package, and of course if you buy those characters in the package, you also get the backpacks, so I'm going to have to spend a lot of money and buy them in the package. Now once again, this toy line went insane on Series 1. If they lasted for Series 2, I really don't know what they would do. There's so many characters in this line. I know there was quite a few baddies though missing, so that could have been Series 2, just all bad guys. Characters like Sir Transalot, Airhead, and Big Evil would all have made awesome action figures. And that's another thing I have to touch on when it came to this action figure line. They stuck primarily to what you saw in the TV show. The real Ghostbusters was more about creating kind of unique characters that were never really seen in the show, but got action figures. Like this thing. I mean, I would trade him any day for a Sam Hain or a Boogeyman or a Killer Watt, especially a Sandman. I mean, the fact that he never got a proper Kenner action figure, just that's a crime. Now, not only did Filmation's Ghostbusters have an awesome figure line, they also had like vehicles and playsets. First, we got to talk about the Ghost Command Center, because that's like the most rarest one out there. It is the Ghostbusters, well, their rendition of kind of like the firehouse headquarters to what the real Ghostbusters had. It's huge, it's massive, it's got tons of accessories inside, and dare I say, no, seriously, I love, I mean, look it up there, there's the Kenner Firehouse. I love it, love it, love it. But the Filmation's Ghost Command Center just is awesome. I mean, all the extra pieces that you get, the molding on it, the fact that you can also fit the car totally inside. And yes, they even had the Ghost Buggy vehicle, and the vehicle itself, I mean, it talked in the TV show. It was almost like a character in its own right. We also have the Scare Scooter, Prime Evil's Bone Troller, and Futura's Time Hopper. Look at this thing. It has lights. It has sounds. I mean, this one doesn't because I left batteries in it about 28 years ago. They blew up. So I think we've touched on the fact that I love the Ghostbusters figure line, more importantly the Filmation's Ghostbusters figure line, but what about the cartoon show? Well, it was full of bumbling heroes and villains. It was almost like watching a ghost theme episode of Scooby-Doo, and yes, I know almost every Scooby-Doo episode is kind of ghost themed, but the show does have a legion of fans still, and that's awesome. It's just not really my type of comedy. By the time Ghostbusters 2 hit theaters in 1989, those are my Ghostbusters. Ray Stantz, Peter Venkman, Winston Zeddemore, Egon Spengler. Those are the ones I prefer. Those are the ones that I fell in love with. However, I will always hold a soft spot in my heart for Filmation's Ghostbusters. Like I said, the cartoon series has its charm. If you're a fan of that style, go crazy on it. But for me, my love for it is mainly because of the action figures and that sweet-ass theme song.
Everybody's going down in time. Remember,